Hello, friends. We're back again. Welcome to Fightful. It's January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully you had a fun, healthy, and a safe New Year's Eve, and hopefully you've gotten the cobwebs loose. Maybe you had a busy day. Maybe you had a good day. Maybe you just had a day hanging out, doing nothing, and enjoying yourself. I hope you did whatever made you feel good for the first day of the year. Happy New Year once again. It's time for your TNA Impact post show. We got two more of these until we move an hour later, go to 11 p.m. Eastern, because AMC is on the horizon. And if you didn't hear it from this particular channel, then you heard it a few times tonight from everyone on Impact. I'm at Joel Pearl, thejoelpearl.com on Blue Sky. Hey, if you're here, first of all, welcome. You first time here? Welcome. So, for not the first time, then sit down. Tell everyone else how this thing goes. You know what to do. You can go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the video. We always appreciate that. If you haven't already, you can go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because we march forward, as we always do, to new heights and new civilizations for the Star Trek fans. But that's not what we're here for. We're talking about TNA Impact for January 1st. I, until Monday, did not realize that this was actually going to be a show tonight, because I was under the impression that the first Impact of the year was going to be next week. But no, turns out that when they meant the first Impact of the year, they literally meant New Year's Day. And I really wish I had known this going into it. That's my own problem, but found out while I was doing In the Weeds, which is the morning show that we host over on Fightful Overbooked. If you haven't checked it out, every single day, 10 a.m. Eastern, myself, Jeremy Lambert, SB3, we talk about sometimes wrestling, sometimes other stuff, but we're always out here talking about some form of wrestling and whatever y'all want to talk about. So I found out during that stream, someone said that Impact was going to be, well, not live, but it was going to be first run on that particular day on today. So I said, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to be here. So going to be a good time. For those of you who care about In the Weeds, and I know that's everyone here, because why wouldn't you? It's your favorite morning show, right? If it's not, what's wrong with you? Tomorrow are the Weedies, the In the Weeds awards, and I've made beautiful awards. Nothing more I can say. They are beautiful awards. They look perfect. They're immaculate. They're ready to be given out to the best of the best in the worlds of professional wrestling, sports, entertainment, sports and entertainment, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. We're giving them to them. So look forward to that. 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Myself, Jeremy, and SB3 talking about all things In the Weeds. All right? We'll have fun with it. And also, of course, this show spot brought to you by Fightful Select. Eventually, I'm going to have my words back. Today has been a very long day for your boy. I was with my kid all day. We went to the museum, had a lovely time. We just had a somewhat chill afternoon, but now the kid is finally asleep, and should have been earlier, but here we are. So my brain is on autopilot and trying not to be. So let's pump it up. Let's get right back into it. Impact tonight. I thought tonight was, again, as per usual, grading on a curve, a mix of good and not so good. I think a lot of the stuff that's happening is moving towards Genesis in a good direction, and I'm looking forward to some of the matches that they're making. There's some stuff where I'm like, okay, again, you have a pay-per-view 2 days after your big television debut, so something's getting lost in the shuffle, and you're trying to service this big AMC debut. So part of it is really strong, and you're trying to make it a big deal, but at the same time, you're trying to focus on this pay-per-view that you're doing 2 days later, and so you're trying to sell tickets to both and serve two masters. But AMC is the one that's going to pay your biggest bill. So where is the line? What are you looking to sell? And I think there's a little bit of confusion when I listen to them pump these particular shows. And we'll take a look and see, as we talk about tonight's show, what worked, what maybe didn't work, and what we're looking at. Because I'll tell you this much: the main event absolutely worked. I will tell you that now. Spoiler alert: loved the main event. It had everything it needed to have, and we'll talk about it in just a little bit when we get to that main event segment. We open up tonight with the Elegance is defeating the Angel Warriors. Iceman comes out. Does his best Roddy Piper in Mexico impression. For those of you who don't know, there's a very, very famous story where Roddy Piper came out in Mexico and said, "And now with my bagpipes, I would like to play for you the Mexican national anthem." And the crowd cheers, and then he starts playing La Cucaracha on the bagpipes, and of course they start pelting him with D-cell batteries. Fantastic story. But anyway, Iceman tries to do that, but of course he starts singing in he just starts singing it. He doesn't have bagpipes because I don't know if he plays them, but he doesn't have them for this gimmick. So they start booing him in El Paso because that's where they still are. And that's fine. You know what? It's just another Heat gimmick. They brought back the Mr. Elegance gimmick. Speaking of which, they're finally going to try and crown a Mr. Elegance. Jeremy Lambert, once again, should be Mr. Elegance. No one else should hear otherwise. No Ryan Nemeth. No one else. Should be Jeremy. Heather by Elegance went on Twitter and said, hey, who should it be? And I was like, you know who it is. It's Jeremy. Tommy Dreamer, who writes for the damn show. He gave his vote of confidence. We know who it is. It's Jeremy Lambert. Don't tell me it's not. He is Mr. Elegance. I'm very proud of the work that we did putting that together. I thought in the match, and by Elegance, Maggie Lee did some great selling in the opening when she was selling her hamstring. She had a good run with Xia Brookside. This match, overall, for what it was all just, it serves two masters. One trying to set up who's going to face the inspiration for the Knockouts tag titles, and then on the other side you have Lang Lee, who is part of the Angel Warriors and is also the Knockouts world title holder. So you want to figure out how you're going to advance the Danny Luna story without putting Danny Luna in a match and putting them against each other. Well, Danny Luna does get involved, and she takes out Lang Lee, which causes Xia Brookside to then be left alone in the match. And so the bow and arrow dropkick combo that the Elegances do is fantastic. And I have to say, I love the way that it looks. And I hope that that is the tag team finisher that they stick with, because it looks good and it's easy to do on an opponent. You could do it on just about anyone, because it's mostly you have to set up the bow and arrow, which you can do with anyone in that Knockouts division, the way I think about it. And the other one is a drop kick from top rope. Pretty simple. It's pretty effective. I thought it looked good from both women. Again, this was such a good Maggie match. She got not only the selling of her hamstring throughout was great, but then she does the drive-by drop kick on Xia Brookside on the outside. She's on the outside. She kicks Xia, who's hanging out the bottom rope. I thought that was really strong, really fun stuff from there. And like I said, Danny Luna attacks. The bow and arrow drop kick combo from the Elegances looks great, and they get the win. But for some reason, as they're celebrating, they're going to hug Iceman, the personal concierge, and he's just like cleaning his glasses like I just was, not giving a damn. I don't know what that was about. I don't know if that was a story beat or just someone wasn't paying attention to the finish, or he's maybe, I don't know, maybe he's busy. Maybe he's not thinking. I don't know. It's just very strange, but that's where we're at with that one. Santino, Gia Miller, they're backstage. He's sad Santino now. I'm sorry. He's sad. He's finally found something to be sad and serious about. And then he says he still has a job to do, and he says, please bring these to Tom and Jerry to read. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, you couldn't just do one serious to say, bring this to the announce team and have them read it. Like, you had to get your shit in. You had to do the Tom and Jerry bit when you're supposed to be super sad Santino, like, as if it's your whole life depends on it. Why can't you just be sad? And I get it. People are going to be like, it's nitpicky. Well, no, it's not, because you're still trying to get yourself over and get a laugh when you're trying to be super distraught over something that happened. Why don't you just say I went to the announce team? I'm not going to harp on it for too long, although later on he does it again, and we'll talk about that. But either way, and what he gave to the announce team was the Genesis 3-way for the X Division title. It's going to be Cedric Alexander, Moose and Leon Slater, Elijah and Mustafa Ali. And next week for the International Championship, Stax going to take on Macklin. Of course, that's relevant because Stax is Arianna Grace's fiance, and Arianna Grace is Santino's daughter, and they turned on Santino during the cage match a couple weeks ago. So it makes sense in build. I really wish that he had just stacked the deck against Stax and put him up against like 5 other guys and been like, oh, if he wants to mess with me, then I'm just going to mess right back. But instead, listen, if it's going to turn into some form of Stax versus Santino for a title, then you'll hear about it from me. I swear to God. Sorry, needed something for my throat. Not to have an aneurysm on the air thinking about it. Anyway, Mustafa Ali defeats Hometown Diener. Yes, that was the match. Diener has the advantage throughout. He's getting in Ali's head, and then the great hands try to distract him. Diener he stops him at the apron. Ali gets the upper hand, hits the 450 splash, and gets the win. Suddenly I'm going through puberty in my brain, so that's great. Thank you very much, my throat. Diener, after the match, gets beat down by the great hands, and Elijah, then you hear the strum of the guitar. So Elijah's coming up, and he does the walk across the stage, and there's some figure with a guitar over covering his head, and it looks like Elijah. So they're pretending they're doing the fake out entrance, which is getting the Great Hands to jump out of the ring, leave Ali alone. And so the Great Hands follow up the stage to go after the person who was crossing the stage. And of course, it was actually someone else. And Elijah instead comes in and goes after Ali. Ali ducks and gets out. But I like, and commentary referenced this, which was perfect. They mentioned that the Great Hands posed as stage hands during Elijah's concert not too long ago. And I thought that they made a really good call back there to have Elijah do the fake out, use that against the guys who used it against Elijah. So for that, it worked out. And again, we're going to get to Elijah versus Mustafa Ali, which I think is being built pretty well. And it really feels like this is the match that Ali wins, he should win, in my opinion. And this gets him towards a world title match against, Mike Santana. We should probably bring that around again, that card for a title. I think that would be a really good deal. But for now, if it's the build of Ali going after a world title and maybe Elijah's the first guy he takes down, that would be great. However, Elijah's coming off of an injury, a long-term triceps injury that he got when working NXT not too long ago. Well, it's about 6 months ago. But if this is his return match and they want to make it a big deal, maybe Elijah gets the win too. But I personally wouldn't mind seeing Ali get the win and kind of build to some sort of world title feud against the guy holding the title at that point, which I would think would be Mike Santana, unless something happens with Mike Santana and his plans in the future. Speaking of future plans, the Rascals are backstage. They want an X Division title shot, but nobody wants to talk to sad Santino. And eventually, Zachary Wentz is the one who does. The audio in this one really sucks. I have to say this. Sorry, this is my production gripe for the week. Santino is so low in the mix because he's trying to speak very sad, very softly. So it should be on someone who's miking them to get that boom mic or something on Santino to be able to hear him speak. Because there's one thing to be able to hear sadness in the voice as it's projecting. It's another thing to just be completely unaware of what you're supposed to be saying. You couldn't really hear me there, right? You had to be wearing your headphones and jacking up the volume just to get there. That's what Santino sounded like. Anyway, the point was, he said that the Rascals will have a three-way, so they're not going to have Wesley involved later on tonight. The winner will get Leon Slater at the AMC premiere, and the winner of that match at the AMC premiere is going to go on to Genesis. We're really doing a whole, again, AMC feeds into Genesis thing. I said it from the get-go. Tonight, they're serving this weird two-master system of having the big AMC premiere. They need to make it a big deal, and then they have the pay-per-view 2 days later, so they got to make that a big deal. I really wish that they had just pivoted and had the AMC premiere at the Curtis Caldwell Center and made that TNA Genesis. The AMC debut is called Genesis because it's the first episode on AMC. The big first Thursday Night Impact Genesis edition. But instead, we're doing a pay-per-view 2 nights after we do the big debut for the big new TV deal that we just started. Again, a little confusing. It's not my company. Maybe there was a reason to do it. But to me, it made more sense to start with the TV deal as the reason for watching. Regardless, the Rascals, they do the three-way. We'll get to that in a minute because, oh, buddy, I'm not going to get there first. You know what? Let's talk about it real quick. Diamond Trust, they defeat Jody Threat, Indi Hartwell, Jada Stone. The match was fine. Jada Stone does an assisted somersault plancha, which was pretty good. She had to base and get ready for it, but otherwise it was a solid move for her. Lots of in-ring time for Mila Moore and Jada Stone. And by the way, Jada Stone, no relation to Robert Stone, who's managing the Diamond Trust. Finally, Mila Moore gets the win after Tessa hits the Magnum, and that's the end of that. So the Diamonds Are Forever group get their own win after they said they were going to have a great 2026. There's no trios division in this company. So I don't know what we're trying to do. Otherwise, maybe we're trying to build Tessa, but Mila Moore got the win because she did a blind tag. Maybe they start something between Mila and Tessa. I don't know. I doubt it. Honestly, I do. But who knows? I would just like to see something different than we're building Tessa for another run at the title because why not? I don't see it. But not my company, not my marshmallows. Why'd I say marshmallows? Don't know. Let's talk about this Arianna Grace promo because I can give you the date that you can go back and watch this promo. And it's not, believe it or not, I know this is shocking. It's not January 1st, 2026. The night that I can tell you to watch it is actually December 13th, 1999. This was effectively Arianna Grace doing the Stephanie McMahon promo the night after she turns on her dad after WWF Armageddon 99 and says, Daddy, I'm not daddy's little girl anymore. I'm not living in your shadow. I'm not doing that. He calls me daddy now. And it's like, this is exactly the same promo, almost bar for bar. And she's even wearing the iconic pink shirt that she wore, not on that particular promo, but later on down the line as she was doing heel Stephanie. This was heel Stephanie McMahon cosplay throughout the entirety of the Arianna Grace promo, complete with the mean mugging, where she's like, I'm no longer daddy's little girl. I'm no longer the beauty queen. I'm angry. I'm going to show you how angry I am. And I'm just like, all right, whatever they're teaching them down there in the NXT Performance Center is just a shade below Oscar-worthy performances. I don't know what they're doing with that. But again, the promo was exactly that. They come out, and by the way, Ariana's flocked with what they're calling the NXT Outlaws, who, by the way, lost the cage match, and I thought the plan was that after they were gone, they were never to be seen again, except for Stax, who's the international champion. But no, they were all there. And by the way, these Outlaws are losing matches on NXT TV in 10 seconds looking at you, Lexus King. So I don't know what we're doing with these quote-unquote Outlaws, because these Outlaws look like complete losers. They lost the cage match. The only victory that they had was when the fiance and the daughter of, the guy who supposedly runs the show kicked him in the dick. So the other guys are just kind of, I don't know, background fodder. I don't know what the plan is. Hopefully the plan is that we just needed them to look badass for that one shot. Meanwhile, Charlie Dempsey is on the stage looking like, oh, do I really have to be here right now? I got stuff I could do. There was nothing there that like pushed me to want to believe in any of these wrestlers. I mean, Stax, obviously he's holding a TNA title, and Arianna Grace has been featured on TV a lot. So like they got reactions, but otherwise these Outlaws are not anything like that. Isn't it great when your eyes just start to itch during the middle of your show? It's great. So go back, watch the Stephanie McMahon promo from 99 that I just talked about, and you will see many, many, many similarities from the dress all the way down to the comments. They picked almost, again, word for word, everything from that promo. They just picked it apart and they put it in and made Arianna Grace do it. I don't know if it was supposed to be it. By the way, folks, getting your super chats, getting your humper chats. Should have said that at the top of the show, but here I am. It's New Year's Day. My brain is still on the other side of the world. So if you want to get on the conversation, you can do that. I see chats talking about this particular segment and saying they had a slam dunk with Arianna being Slagent A, and they could have done something with that if they wanted to keep her as a comedy act. But of course, in NXT, 99% of the time, you got to do something where you go heel and you try the other side of your acting chops. You build on that. That's fine. I get it. That's why I've been waiting for Sol Ruca or Zarya, one of those two, to turn heel so that they can try that gimmick, so that they try other sides. Kalani Jordan, they did that with her. She was a great white meat baby face, and then they decide, oh, let's turn her heel. Let's see how she does. And it's getting better, but they always try you on both sides of the ledger. That's what NXT does, and it works to a certain degree, but it's not, sorry about my eyes. It's not always effective when you've got the right person. Javon Evans, they don't need to do it with. They know what they've got. Joe Hendry, I feel like they think they've got as much as they need from him right now to know what they can get. So instead it'll be Arianna Grace working on her no longer daddy's little girl segment. There are worse things in the world. The Righteous come out. They replayed the entire thing from 2 weeks ago where they picked up Matt Hardy and they brought him to the back and they put him in this gymnasium and they lit candles and had him in effigy and they wanted to make him last forever and all this stuff. And then basically they talk around to the point where Vincent says he's a reflection of Jeff Hardy. Then the Hardys come out and Matt Hardy says, oh, you guys are cultish. We're not interested in that. They challenge them to a fight. The Righteous decline and they say, no, we want to help you reach a potential that you didn't know existed. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're still trying this cult thing with the Righteous, and I'm sure they're going to find a way. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my eye tonight. This is really, really obnoxious. I'm sorry. They're going to find a way to continue egging them on until they eventually give them a match. Well, the Hardys want to fight. The Righteous don't want to fight. They want brotherhood, not conflict. And then the Hardys, we got to talk about this, guys. We got to talk about being a corporate shill and trying to tell a story. Because tonight, the Hardys didn't care about the Righteous being weird when the Righteous declined, suddenly the problem wasn't that they wanted to face the righteous. Suddenly the problem was we're here to be the leaders in the new AMC era, because that's what's most important, right? The amount of money a company makes and the crowd should be cheering for the AMC. Why are you promoting this as like the biggest deal to the wrestling fans that have bought and paid for a ticket? You're not selling a match at the AMC debut. You're just trying to tell people how excited you are to go to AMC. You're paying lip service to your new television provider, and you don't need this. If you need to sell your new deal, then you do it with a match. You don't do it by saying we're going to lead you into the AMC era and not have a match on tap, because this isn't the match that they're planning, at least for AMC, and they haven't told you that it's going to be at AMC. It's just for some reason Matt Hardy needed to tell you, oh, by the way, AMC, we are the leaders, because they're also the first talent that you see going through the table in the promotion. And I don't understand where in wrestling we've suddenly become this, we have to please the television partners on the air first and not the fans who are paying to see us, because for a long time it was without the fans that we're telling stories to, the television and the advertisers didn't matter. They almost came second. They give us the money because we serve the audience. So why are we trying to tell the story here that we're charging into the AMC era? You should care about that. You're effectively telling us, well, you don't have to pay attention for the next couple of weeks. You just need to listen, for January 15th. And then if it's good, it's good. And if it's not, then you can just move along. I don't know why we're suddenly in this world that doesn't matter if you're watching. It just matters that we got the deal. And it just matters that we're on a bigger TV station now. It doesn't make sense in the confines of the wrestling. It doesn't make sense in the confines of the storytelling. You're effectively telling me that, okay, you don't want to have a match? Great. We're going to go to this other television station and we're going to keep asking. It didn't work. And they do it later. And we'll get into that after the system promo, because again, they mentioned the AMC era. There's nothing wrong with commentary bringing it up. There's nothing wrong with running vignettes telling you, hey, by the way, January 15th, like push that. Absolutely. But if a wrestler's coming out in front of the crowd and saying, we're going to lead this company into the next era on AMC, the crowd doesn't care. The crowd's there to see a match. The crowd's there to see what you're going to do in the ring, or what you're going to do at the pay-per-view, or what you're going to do at, I don't know, the AMC debut. But you didn't do any of those things. You just said, we're marching, we're going to be the faces of AMC. And it's super serving your television partner, not the audience that you're supposedly talking to in the moment. So that felt a little weird to me. You don't have to be company guy 24/7 to get there. We'll skip ahead to the system promo because I mentioned it. JDC versus Edward Edwards is official for Genesis. I think we talked about that 2 weeks ago. Edward Edwards is honored to have the match, so the fans won't want to miss it, which, again, that's what you want to do. You sell the match, you sell the pay-per-view, and you say, we're teammates, but man, the fans won't want to miss it. And then JDC kisses him on the cheek and says, it's going to get weird at Genesis. That's how you sell a match. Even though they're teammates, they're going to do stuff. And I think it's great that they're selling the match. They're not just selling, it's not the systems exploding or imploding. It's JDC's last match. He picked one of his friends and teammates to have the match with. They say it's going to get weird and the fans don't want to miss it, because that's the intrigue. That's what you're doing. You're selling the intrigue of the match. What are these two going to do? It's not, we're going to AMC. It's, you're going to have a great match. You're going to want to see this match. You want to pay to see this match because it's not a title match. JDC is retiring. JDC is mid-card. He's not the guy. He had a title match at Final Resolution that was good, but he hasn't been seen as the top dog in TNA. So you need to sell them somehow, and that's how they did it. And I give them props because they made it you want to see it because it's going to be weird. Plain and simple. We're going to get weird. And what does that mean? Who knows? So JDC says, I want one last dance. Spoke to Sad Santino. Next week, it's going to be Cedric Alexander, Leon Slater, and the Hardys taking on the system. Okay, great. Let's send the crowd home happy. And the Hardys are backstage. Gia Miller approaches them and says, hey, what do you think of this match being made? And they're like, oh, this is a great 8-man tag. And we're going to push you through to the AMC era. And I'm like, you did it again. Why do you need to do this? Why do you need to bring up the AMC era again? Let commentary talk about it. You bring Carlos Silva onto your show to give the title to the guy who wins. Let him push it. Why are you, the wrestler, pushing where you're going next? You're not the company man. You're not the company man. You are supposed to be pushing that you want to fight the righteous so bad, because when you walk into your locker room, it's surrounded by Hardy memorabilia that you didn't put there, and you immediately look and say, the righteous. You should be upset about that. You should say, I want to fight them. Not, oh, see you at AMC on the 15th. That's just dumb. It's just trying to sell something. I know the irony of this is, Matt Hardy is jokingly talking about being a grifter on his podcast because people have come after him for things that he said. Fine, whatever. I don't care. But this just doesn't help the irony of the statement you've made. It doesn't work. So, once again, JDC Edwards did a good job getting their match over. The Hardys did not have a match to put over, and therefore they just talked about AMC. Oh my goodness. What a wonderful world we live in. What a wonderful wrestling world we live in, isn't it? You leave a thumbs up, you're telling all your friends about this show, right? Right? I promise. It's good. X Division #1 contendership. Myron Reed gets another shot. He defeats his teammates, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. No Wesley, because Wesley lost his chance at the X Division title. He did not win that match, so he's not in this triple threat. Leon Slater's on commentary, which is good. Reed is the only one wearing different colored gear. Miguel and Wentz are wearing their tag team gear, which I thought was interesting. Towards the end, Trey hits a Meteora on Reed that's absolutely nuts. Sends them almost upside down on each other. Almost turned it into a Meteora. I don't know how to explain it. A Meteora destroyer, because they almost flipped over each other, which was great. Eventually, Reed hits the 450 splash after Wentz hits the UFO cutter on Miguel. Reed comes down, hits both guys, and instead pins Trey Miguel, which it's a choice. But again, I don't really care who gets the pin as long as somebody gets the pin and it's clean. This match was very much, hey, we're three guys that we respect each other, we like each other, and we're spot guys. Let's go after it. So Myron Reed gets the #1 contendership match. He's got the #1 contendership. He's going to face Myron Reed at the AMC debut. Leon Slater, of course, is going after the NXT championship on Tuesday at New Year's Evil against Obafemi. Leon Slater is not meant for this TNA world, friends. I hate to say it. The X Division 3-way was the first thing that made me think, oh, he's gone. Of course, Fightful Selected reported that Leon's contract runs through 2026. Probably he was signed in October 23, so a 3-year deal. You're looking at October 2026. If that's the deal, and again, Joe Hendry was brought on to NXT before he finished, I would not be shocked to see Leon Slater as part of the NXT roster before his TNA deal is expired. I would very much not be surprised. And if this is the way that they do it, it could be as early as Genesis, where he doesn't even lose a title. It could be that Moose pins Cedric or Cedric pins Moose. Cedric Alexander, if he signs, another little title or another little contract, whether it's 3 months, 1 year, 3 years, whatever, I could see him winning the X Division title, because ever since he came in, that's what he's been after. Moose is Moose. He's got another 2 years left, 1 year left, I think, because he had signed for 5 years when he last signed. Craziness. Regardless, that's a good match, though. That triple threat for the X Division title, those three guys will go crazy, which I'm looking forward to. Again, doing Myron Reed versus Leon Slater. If you play the mental gymnastics enough, yes, you can see Myron Reed win and he gets into the triple threat, and then it's Myron Reed versus Moose versus Cedric Alexander for the X Division title. I don't dislike that, but I can't really get there on 2 days' notice, because again, it's an AMC debut, and then it would be the X Division title on the line. It just wouldn't. Leon Slater is the star. He is. Out of those three, I know Moose is, he's been there for a long time. Cedric Alexander is a former WWE guy. I get it. But like, Leon Slater is that guy. He is they've positioned him as the next guy up, and they have given him all of the tools to continue to build on, not only being the youngest in charge as he is, but also just he is the wrestler that he is. So for that, I don't see them just taking him off of the Genesis card, unless Shawn Michaels actually got the deal done. But it's not up to me. Who knows? But I do think he's not long for the TNA world. I think he's as soon as he can heading over to WWE, which should not surprise you to hear those words, especially given the way that they've been pushing him. There's one thing that I would do, and I said this before. I don't know if I said this 2 weeks ago. I've talked about it on In the Weeds. If Leon Slater is out, if he's leaving TNA, one thing I would do is put him over on the way out. Not necessarily with a victory. What I would like to see is him cash in option C, because we haven't done that since Frankie tried to do it on Josh Alexander at Overdrive in 23, I think it was 23, 24. maybe 24, 23, 24, 23, 23. So we haven't done it since then. No one's cashed in option C. If Mike Santana is a champion, Leon Slater can cash in on Mike Santana. They have a great spirited match. Santana wins and they raise his hand, and that's his last night in TNA. I don't see anything wrong with that. Santana puts him over as the future. He doesn't need to win to be put over. He doesn't need to win to get the rub. He can easily lose on his way out, but still look good and go after the world title. Be like, I never got my shot. This is my shot. I'm cashing in option C. And then we move forward. The X Division title gets, recrowned however you want to do it. Bring back Ultimate X, do a series of matches, do a tournament. I don't care. It's not up to me. I'm spitballing. This is something you could do to put Leon over before he inevitably goes to WWE. That'd be fine. There's someone in the chat saying this NXT partnership is great. We know what this is. WWE has much more staying power than TNA. TNA is, I want everyone to, again, take a deep breath. If you're a big TNA fan, take a deep breath and remember how often you work if you're in TNA. Did you take that deep breath? 3 times a month is the answer. If you're working NXT, you're at the PC almost daily. You're running shows. There are weekend shows. There's a Tuesday show. There are PLEs. You might go up and work Raw SmackDown once in a while. There are more opportunities in WWE. And if this is going to be a feeder system, it's not going to kill TNA. TNA gets NXT, I should say, gets free first run looks at talent. And yeah, that could be frustrating. But if you're a good booker, you can book other talent that you're scouting on the indies because you need to be scouting all the time. And you can build with those talent. And if you become a feeder to WWE, again, they had Leon Slater for 2 years before they finally crowned him. It's not on WWE. They saw a great wrestler and they saw the capability and they saw the potential. TNA was always going to be giving WWE first chance at some talent. TNA was never going to be a place where, AJ Styles is going to come down and Natty's going to come down and work her gimmick and Becky Lynch is going to make it. Was never going to be that. It was always going to be TNA looks good working with WWE, and WWE looks like they're playing ball and not getting themselves into antitrust trouble by working with TNA. That's all it was. It was never about to be equal. It was never going to be an equal partnership. NXT talent who were brand new, still learning the ropes, got to work a taped show for TV in a crowd that's close to what the PC would offer on a semi-regular basis. TNA stars, Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, Leon Slater, Moose even were given opportunities. Mike Santana is another one. Frankie Kazarian came back. They were going to get opportunities to work in NXT when they were called up to work them and get a little bit of shine. That's all it was. The NXT partnership was never supposed to be about TNA getting anything more than their talent, top talent getting opportunities. It's a feeder. It's a free feeder system for NXT. Because if you see it like that, and you understand that TNA works 3 days a month, I should say, then you understand. That's it. TNA World Title. Speaking of great, not just research, but scouting talent, Bear Bronson gets his world title shot against Frankie Kazarian. And no, I don't think anyone expected Bear Bronson to get a shock victory, but he did put up a hell of a fight for his first big singles match in TNA. Frankie Kazarian retains the world title in a very good match, a fantastic match in a lot of ways. Very simple, very effective, very well paced, just good guy versus bad guy. The bad guy wins and he didn't need to cheat. That's the best part. They got good early getting Bear with the early believable offense. Commentary did eventually talk more about Bear's background. I didn't need them to go into he's from AEW and he did this and that, but he's had an incredible 2025 on the indies. To bring that around would have been really good. But even Bear Bronson did a great job of getting his facials onto the camera whenever he got that chance. Whenever he saw a moment where the crowd was behind him or whatever it was, he wasn't hokey, he wasn't over the top, but he got that I could do this. He was believing in himself with the roar of the crowd. Very typical white meat baby face presentation, and it worked. I'd like the Kaz could counter into believable moves. There was the choke bomb into the DDT. He tries for the chicken wing, and of course bears eat chicken, so he tries to bite Kazarian's fingers for the chicken wing, which was a good spot. I'm glad they did that. And there was a good near fall with Bronson ducking the springboard leg drop, and then eventually Kaz gets the fade to black to retain because outside during the match they did a spot on the steel steps, and the steel steps ended up being the player into the match because Bear Bronson got shoved onto them or he got slammed onto the steps. So his back hurts. So he can't pick him up. So Kazarian got him up, got the fade to black, and got the win. 1, 2, 3. Simple, easy, effective. And Carlos Silva needs to stop getting in the ring to present the titles after the match because he just doesn't know how to act. Because he just stands there awkwardly and it's like, am I supposed to be scared of him? Am I supposed to be like, good for you, Frankie, even though you're an asshole on TV? Until they show or give Carlos the wherewithal to understand what he's doing in these moments, and giving him stage direction, giving him something other than just give him the title or put the title around the waist or play along. Don't play along. Give him beat for beat what he should be doing. If Frankie's going to do this, then Carlos should do this. He should cower away. There should be something, some sort of reaction to everything that Carlos is doing when they bring him into the ring to do something with the title presentation. If he's going to put the title around someone's waist, aces, do that for the babyface when you crown that champion. Do something to make sure that Carlos doesn't look lost out there, because he looked lost and they kept showing him as if he was supposed to or about to do something. It's done. Just either don't do it anymore or give him the direction so that he knows where he's supposed to be at any given time to do the spot that he's supposed to do. Mike Santana comes out into the crowd and now he announces the title match is no longer going to be at Genesis. It'll be on the AMC debut. Again, you got a Genesis show, you got an AMC show, you're trying to serve two masters. So the AMC show is now going to be the title match, Frankie Kazarian versus Mike Santana. It's not bad. It was expected. I think John Alba at one point said it and we all agreed, and we all said, yeah, that's what we're all expecting. And that is for Mike Santana to get the crowning moment on the AMC debut, blah, blah, blah. And then I went one further on In the Weeds, if you haven't noticed, and I'm not going to, I'll do my own horn here. You still have another Call Your Shot Gauntlet winner, and that's Nick Nemeth. And I expect him to say, hey, well, I want the other title shot, so I'm going to call my shot for Genesis. So whoever wins at AMC, I expect to be called out by Nick Nemeth. There you go. Easy peasy. You set up 2 nights of main events in a very short order, and you think you're going to hot potato or just hot shot this angle, and it'll be what it'll be. I want to real quick, because this isn't a long review, because A, it's just Mius, but also they're, again, grading on a curve. There isn't a lot to say about TNA until the debut on the 15th. They're kind of building it, but they're not, because they got a pay-per-view, and it's give and take. But I do want to point out, so there's been a lot of talk about titles in wrestling and people who have more titles or which companies have too many titles and all that stuff. I'll give 2 cents real quick, because we talked about it on In the Weeds, and I've half defended the TNA having the right amount of titles conversation, because people look at the international title and they say, oh, you don't need that. Well, TNA has been really good about having just the straight up 5 or 6 titles. World title, you got to have it. Men's world title, men's women's title, men's world title, women's world title, which in this case is their knockouts title, the X Division Championship, which is their mid-card title, and we'll talk about what that could be, the knockouts tag titles, the tag titles themselves, and now you got the international championship. So for that reason, like, it's perfect. You've got parity with the men and women. So you've got tag titles for the men and women. You've got a knockouts world championship and a men's world championship. I don't think the women of TNA, the knockouts, I don't think they need a mid-card knockouts championship. Don't do that. The digital media championship servicing both sides was fine to me, but you don't need a mid-card women's title. What you do need is to focus what your titles are doing. And this is why I think TNA is in a really good spot if they decide to focus their 2 influx titles, being the X Division and the international title. The international title, I've harped on it from the get-go. It should have been as delivered. It should have been workhorse title defended across the indies, anywhere and everywhere. If you could get phone footage or anything that you could use to put on your TV or put on your socials as this guy defending the title out and about across the world, you do it. You had Macklin, and you have a partnership with WWE, and you have a partnership with AAA, and you can go and bring that title to Mexico and defend it there in a triple threat, and you could get through with it. And you can have a guy beat your lower card AAA guys. I don't care. But you could at least have something of the international championship being defended both internationally and considered a workhorse title. It should be almost like an excursion title, almost this guy isn't in the world title conversation right now because he's either dropped off or because he's working on something new. And what that something new is being such a dominant champion that when he comes back, he'll go after this world title or not, or he'll just drop it and move on. I don't know. But regardless, the presentation of the international title to me was always the outside the company title, like AEW wants to do with the national title, for example. There's opportunity there. So the X Division title. How do you do a X Division title when the international title exists too? The X Division title it services two masters at its very basic core. The mid-card flipping really good matches that are not the typical main event style wrestling match. You got it from the X Division. That's what made the X Division. That's what made TNA back in the early days. You can use the X Division lineage, which they've done really well, to tell the story of your most prestigious high flyers, your most prestigious wrestlers who went on to have main event success, have won the X Division title. That is something that you can continue to do. Now, there's another story you can add to that, and that is the option C part of it. You want a dominant world title ready heel who wants to cheat almost his way into a world title match without having to go after the world championship and climb the ranks. He wins the X Division title, maybe cheats to win. This is a big guy story almost. This is like I don't know, dude, think of your biggest dude. This is your biggest, baddest dude coming in and squashing a tiny X Division champion. And then he says, I want the world title. I'm going to cash in option C. Something like that. That works for the X Division. So again, the X Division continues to be a mid-tier level title that has a different focus from the international title and is in-house developed. It is in-house defended. There should be an edict that if you're in TNA, the only titles that get defended outside of TNA is the international title. Maybe the Knockouts World Championship, because if you want to give parity to the women, you can use that. But there should be no other title in TNA where the person goes on the indies and then decides to defend it there. It should always be international title or the Knockouts title. That's it. That's kind of my feeling towards the title situation in TNA specifically, because I know everywhere else we're looking at too many titles across too many brands, across too many companies, across too many everythings, and no focus. This is one way that you can focus two titles and keep them apart while still giving them relevance when going after the world title. Because that's what you want, right? You want to go after the world title. That's the pinnacle of your company. You want to be the best. Well, if you win one of those mid-card titles, it proves that you are on route to facing the best. And you can tell that story with a little separation, but the same idea of climbing. And you can tell good stories that way. So I leave you with that. That's my little, it's not a rant. I think it's just my opinion for the day. Maybe you want to add something in the comments. I would appreciate that. We're not going to go too long. It is New Year's Day, and I hope everyone had a good one. You can leave a thumbs up on the way out. You can tell Sean Ross Sapp that you love me unconditionally. Just me, no one else. You can check me out on In the Weeds every Monday, Wednesday, and I'm on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The show is Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, over on Fightful Overbooked. That's our sister's channel. So go and subscribe there. We're going to do the Weedies tomorrow. The 58th annual In the Weeds Awards. You don't want to miss it. 10 a.m. Eastern. So for now, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to bed. I need my beauty rest. So ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, I'll see you in the next.